Hey guys, welcome to the Perdie Channel. I am your host, Matt Perdie, and I'm trying this new sort of podcast-like format out because, honestly, a lot of people online are kind of boring or cringy or dorky. Well, I mean, dorky's okay, I guess, right? Dorky's okay?
Yeah, dorky's great.
Dorky's okay.
Yeah.
Dorky's great, yeah. But I think it's just there's too many cringe and degenerate people online, and I don't know. Like, I feel like if Rush Limbaugh still existed, I wouldn't be doing this. Not to say I'm trying to replace him, but I would be, like, sufficiently occupied. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, we have Darden Brock here, who is the custodian at the chapel we go to, the SSPX, the Radical SSPX chapel. That is in the FBI memo, actually. It's a very famous chapel. It's in the FBI memo that was leaked from the Richmond office. It's pretty awesome, right?
Mm-hmm. We're pretty dangerous.
Yeah, pretty radical.
Mm-hmm.
So I also have to mention that Darden is also a hardcore anti-abortion, pro-life activist. Is that right? What would your title be in terms of the, fighting the abortion, murder industry?
I don't really think I would have a title. I mean, it's just one of the foot soldiers that showed up in Operation Rescue.
Yeah, so when did you, let's do a chapter and verse. When did you start, like, fighting for life? When did you start fighting the abortion industry?
Well, I always did. In 1970, it was legal in Hawaii, where I lived. So we, protested there, and then it became legal here. When we moved back to the States, I got involved in the crisis pregnancy centers.
How old were you?
How old was I? I had to be in my probably early 40s, maybe.
Okay, and so you're in your early 40s. What prompted you to actually start taking action? Because, there's a lot of women. It was very popular at that time, abortion, right? It was really surging in popularity in like the 60s and whatnot. So what convinced you to go, okay, I'm actually going to do something that's going to get people to not like me in some ways?
Well, I mean, I'm a devout Catholic, and I've never been one to sit back when something's wrong. So, it came natural to do something. And then I couldn't when I had a lot of small children at home, but after they got bigger, I got involved in the in Little Rock, Arkansas, at the Crisis Pregnancy Center there, and things were a lot different then than they are now, because the girls that would come in, we could literally go to their homes. We could follow them, go to their home. If they hadn't changed their mind, we could talk to them and still try to persuade them, and we actually changed.
So wait, when would you go to their homes?
After they come in and have a pregnancy test. And
oh, I see. So you catch them before they're even going in for the abortion.
Oh, yeah. We would try to dissuade them when we talked to them, but if they were iffy or we concerned about them, then we'd go visit them. And, there's just so many times that we promised to get them jobs, which we did. And I had one girl that I convinced her she wasn't going to have an abortion, but I also sidewalk counseled at the abortion clinic, standing outside. And her name was Cynthia, years and years ago. So, and I was there, and I saw her. She was there, and I was like, Cynthia, what are you doing here? And
so you knew her before?
Yes,
as she was
because I'd been to her house, and she'd agreed not to have, and she had one child already.
And you're saying that she agreed to
keep her child, but then she showed up at to have an abortion, and I was there, and I stopped her. She changed her mind there. She went home. Then I went back to see her again. And
wait, hold on. Can I reverse? Can I pause? Because this is also interesting to me. I want you to just speed run through it. But you actually went and she told you she was not going to abort.
Oh, yeah.
And then in person, and then you're at Planned Parenthood doing sidewalk counseling, and then she walks up
to have an abortion.
Can you tell me about that conversation?
Well, it was just what I said. I just was shocked that she was there, and I said, no, you can't do this. And she left. She didn't do it.
So you actually convinced her.
Oh yeah, I stopped her. I stopped her right there. If I hadn't been there, she would have had an abortion. Okay.
Wow.
But because I was there and she knew me and I knew her, And so then I went back to her house, and and later I got a nicest letter from her thanking me so much for saving her child's life.
Wow.
And how happy she was, and and I don't know. I had a 14-year-old girl whose mother said she was going to throw her out of the house. This is at the Crisis Pregnancy Center, and but convinced her not to have an abortion, and her mother didn't throw her out of the house. And then,
well, how did you convince this one to not have an abortion?
Well, what we did at our center, we would bring them in, we would do a pregnancy test, we would show them a film that showed what abortion was, and then we'd put the film on and then do the pregnancy test, go back in the room, and then hopefully the film convinced them, but then we'd talk to them, and we'd persuade them not to do it, obviously. So
you brought them into it like a pregnancy center, basically.
Yeah, and then bring them in a counseling room, talk to them first and find out, what's going on in their life, then put on film on, then come back in to give them the results. And this young girl, she did change her mind, and later on, she and her mother would keep coming back, bringing the child and thanking me, and the grandmother, oh, thank you so much for this child, send me pictures, everything, This happened a lot, and I can honestly say I think more babies' lives have been saved in crisis pregnancy centers like ours. Not ones that are up front and say, oh, yeah, we are pro-life. We didn't do that. We would locate right next to the abortion clinic, and our name was AAA, Women for Choice. So women would accidentally walk in, and when they did, we never lied to them, but we just never told them that we weren't.
You just use a name that could be perceived as something that was also pro-abort.
At least 70% of these women changed their minds.
Wow.
Crisis, or
so you're saying like from the time that you spoke to them, about 70% of them would change their mind, or from the time that you got them into the pregnancy center?
From the time once they came in and we spoke to them, 70% of the women who were going to have an abortion didn't.
And think about how many lives could be saved if you just had like...
They saved, where I work, they saved hundreds of babies, for sure.
And in like what frame of time did you witness like hundreds of children being saved?
I worked for 30 years there, but...
Wow.
But yeah,
that's a huge impact. You think about like hundreds of
it was
human beings down the road,
and we were right next to the abortion clinic, so we could hear the suction machine.
Gosh.
And
like your building was like right next to it.
We were exactly next door.
Wow.
And the abortionist, he would come out. Once he came out, and he was screaming, cursing us and everything, and then they had escorts to come to guard the women, to take them into their abortion mill, and then to overcome the sound of the suction machine, we put on the Mercy of God chaplet really loud so the women could hear that. And the police even came, because they complained that we were too noisy.
So was this like a Planned Parenthood, or what was it?
It was just a private doctor who bragged that he had done 25,000 abortions in the military, and he would say things like, oh, there's no brain, there's no mind, there's no heart, that's not human. He tried to...
It's kind of a weird flex, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, seriously. So, yeah. But that was the beginning. But then when Operation Rescue started, well, then we could do more, So Randall Terry founded it, and we would go. And
how many of you guys were there that were trying to reach people going into the abortion clinic, the abortion factory, the murder factory?
We surrounded it to block people. I mean, I never actually went in. My friend Mary Ann Kreitzer, she went in. I think she chained herself to an abortion machine. She was
to the actual abortion machine.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So why don't you tell me? This is one of my favorite things about Darden, is that she's been jailed for saving babies, and she's willing to do that when I think a lot of people, like, they're very pro-life, but then the second that it's possible that they could get arrested, you're seeing about 90% of them just kind of like stepping off to the side there. But you actually blocked an abortion clinic and got jailed for it. Can you tell us about that whole experience?
Well, I did it more than once, but...
Oh, you went to jail more than once?
Well, yeah, we'd go to jail, and they usually just release you, on your own recognizance. So I might still be wanted in Philadelphia because,
You're wanted in Philly?
I might be. I don't know, I could be. Yeah, that was really something.
You should test that out. Just go to Philadelphia.
Yeah, I wonder.
And see if an officer, like, you get pulled over by just...
Well...
You have to do something bad in Philly, though. They won't pull you over for the speed limit.
At this rescue, there were 5 busloads of pro-lifers. I don't know how many people were on a bus, but however many times 5, it was Good Friday, and we all got arrested. And that was the holiest time the jail had ever been, because you could hear people praying.
Wait, you're saying all 5 buses
got arrested.
worth of people got arrested? So you're talking like probably at least hundreds of people.
Yeah. No, we got arrested, and the pro-abort surrounded it first, and then we surrounded them, and we just stood there and we prayed, and they were so foul.
Okay, so the way it's laid out is the pro-aborts were surrounding the abortion clinic, and then you guys
surrounded
were like, fine,
them.
we'll just surround.
Yeah, they
all
helped
you guys.
us keep it closed.
So the entry, you just could not get in.
No, you couldn't get in, and all we did is pray silently. We'd say the Our Father, then we'd be silent, and they were just saying all kinds of horrible things, keep your rosaries off our ovaries and all this kind of...
They said that even back then?
Oh, yeah.
These guys are so lame. They've been saying that for, they've been saying that for, 4 decades?
It was awful, but then, it was still, we were in jail, and it was worth it. It was Good Friday, and it was...
All right. This is the part that's interesting to me is, all right, you get arrested, you get brought to jail. How long were you in jail?
Usually not that long, because they don't want to have to put up with you, So we get released on our own recognizance. But the time I went to jail, that was for a rescue in, I think it was Upper Marlboro, Maryland. And we had to go back to court for that. We had a court date. So we went, and it was 12 of us, and one of them was a Catholic priest who since died, Father James Buckley, who was very brave, too. And we just all went in the courtroom. We had to testify to the judge, My daughter was one of them, too. And after, he found us all guilty and sentenced, some of us to a week, and the priest and maybe a couple of others to 2 weeks. So then they came in the courtroom and shackled our ankles and put handcuffs on us and let us out to a paddy wagon, and we brought us to jail, and then fingerprinted us, took our mug shots.
Yeah, we gotta find that mug shot. I want to find the Darden Brock mug shot. It's like, and it's a cool thing now. Ever since Trump, right? It's just it's like a trophy,
a badge of honor.
Yeah, it's a trophy.
And they take all your things away, everything you have, and give you, for me, I'm small, so they give me these size 13 flip-flops and maybe 3 or 4 size too big orange jumpsuit to put on, and...
You got the orange jumpsuit. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's kind of so cool.
And then they put us in a room, and we were put in with the trustees, so we were in their recreation room, and they put these metal cots in there, and the first night, I don't think there were sheets or anything, just, it was kind of gross. And we had 12 people sharing one bathroom. And
Oof.
And when we first came, they were resentful, the trustees, that we were taking their space. But by the time it was over, we made friends with them, and they even took down some of their pictures that weren't so nice, and, and we were all getting along. And
so you're saying you were getting along with the other people that were in the
people
prison.
Who were mostly in there just for drug abuse.
Mostly drug-related offenses.
And the food was terrible for these poor people. Just really bad food.
So why don't you walk us through your personal experience, how the conditions were for yourself? Were you really annoyed and depressed or anything, or were you just tell us about that?
Well, I mean, you know what? When I think about it, at that time, it was almost the best feeling that you could have, because you knew you were doing everything that you could possibly do. There's no more you could really do,
Right.
And most of the time, there's always some more that you could do. So, no, I didn't feel bad. And I don't know, just I was bored. It was very, very boring in jail. I mean, you can't even imagine. And I think we got out one time to go. Yeah, one time they took us to the library, and they had books about murder in there and things like that. That amazed me. Some of the things that were.
We mean like promoting murder?
Well, no, just things that you wouldn't think that would be suitable.
Yeah.
That would help anybody. And then I believe it's been a long time, but I think we got to go to mass one time, and that was just it. Though the rest of the time we're locked in that room with these other ladies, and and we prayed, and
So tell us about this. So how many people were in your cell? It was just a room with like
6 of us.
So 6
women,
per cell.
and 6 of the trustees.
Who are these people? You said the trustees?
Well, these are the people that are in jail,
Just other
but they're
prisoners.
trusted more than some of the others. So that's
interesting.
They didn't just put us in the common population. They could have, but they didn't. So yeah, but it's not bad going to jail. I know one time we got arrested on the day of the March for Life, and Patty, who was head of the AAA Win for Choice, she and we got out of jail, and then we went to the March for Life.
Wow.
we spent the night in the shrine on the floor, and because they have all night, pro-lifers are there all night. So we slept in one of the small side chapels on the floor, and then we got up, we went and rescued with the Operation Rescue, and then got out of jail, went to the march, so.
Tell me about, I want to know about some of the conversations you have with people that are considering abortion, some of these women. Like, what would you say to them to get them to even hesitate in conducting or performing an abortion? Like, what actually works?
Well, it would depend on every individual woman. Just, first of all, talking about their safety, what this is going to do to you, but also, some of the things, one of the things I would always tell them is that I've never seen a woman come out of an abortion clinic that had any joy at all, but I've never been at a birth that I didn't see ecstatic joy on a woman's face, and that, that you're going to kill your baby, and no one's going to know, because you can't go out and say, like, if you have a miscarriage or your baby dies, you can't go out and say, oh, well, I lost my baby, and get, sympathy. You're not going to tell anyone you had an abortion. So you're going to have a dead baby with no grave to go to, and, there's no one really to help you mourn for this baby. And, just along those lines, and dependent on the woman, because then when you talk to them, you find out what they care about, and just you address all of that.
Did you ever see like men fighting to try to convince the women not to abort, like the women they impregnated?
No. I mean, if anything, it would be the men,
just dropping them off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dropping them off, wanting them to have an abortion,
Witnessed one time I was outside of Planned Parenthood and in DC,
mm-hmm.
and they actually had a bunch of Catholics praying outside
Right.
across the street, doing the rosary. I think they were doing the rosary.
Right.
I was a new Catholic at the time, so I can't say exactly. I
Right.
haven't committed it to memory, but they actually, I don't even think I was Catholic. I'm a new Catholic now,
mm-hmm.
but it was
mm-hmm.
right before I became Catholic, probably. But so they had there's this guy who dropped off a woman, and she went in, and then like the guy came back, and he's like trying to get in,
mm-hmm.
and they were like basically trying to convince him not to go back in, and he's
mm-hmm.
like
mm-hmm.
he was like asking to get in. I think he
Mm-hmm.
actually did end up getting in. I don't know what ended up happening, but
Mm-hmm.
I remember the guy leading the Catholic protest was like, "You better get in there, man!" Like he was trying to encourage him, to, like go in there,
go
storm
and
the
save
place.
your baby.
Yeah, I wonder what happened, but
Yeah.
no. So that's fascinating.
No, it's just really, there's so many, it depends, like a young woman who's not married and in school, or a woman that says, I can't afford another one, all of the different things that you would address.
So what do you think about there's a lot of pro-lifers today who maybe they lean towards less aggressive tactics. They're like, well, we don't want to call it murder because, it's a little harsh. And, you are dealing with women that are in a pretty sensitive space. So, what do you think about that approach? Just kind of softening what it is.
I totally disagree with it.
Tell us why.
I believe in showing them something like hard truth where they see what abortion is. If you can't stand to look at it, then how can you do it? That's one of the things if I saw that I only had a little time, I would show them hard truth, which is nothing but showing exactly the outcome of abortion.
Right.
And you can't, and they say that in the film, if you can't watch this, how can you do it, And I think you have to confront them. You have to show them how terrible it is. Yeah, you can't sanitize it. Really? Murder's happening and you're not going to show somebody that this is murder?
Have you seen people try to use those more soft tactics?
Oh, yeah. I won't say where, but, these crisis pregnancy centers that, oh, no, we can't, we're pro-life and well, how many babies do you think they save when they advertise and they only show, they don't really show them what it is? I'm sure they save some, but the women that really want an abortion, they're not going in there. They're going to an abortion clinic, and that's why the type of clinics, they were called Pearson clinics. Was his whole premise. You have to get them in there.
Right.
And you have to show them what it is, and you have to, it's hardcore. This is a hardcore thing they're going to do, a murder, and you have to show them what could happen to them. You have to show them, it's not a perfectly safe procedure, suction and curettage and salting out the baby and, just all of it. There's, they have to know the truth. How can you, make an informed choice and talk about a choice, and then, you can't, they don't know if they don't know what's happening. So, yeah, I don't agree with that at all, and I never did. And any clinic that, I could never work at one of those centers that, I just think you have to. So
you're saying you wouldn't work at a center that had a too soft an approach?
Yeah, no.
Are there a lot of centers like that?
There's quite a few. There are, and they're crisis pregnancy centers. And we were too, but we're, we don't appear to be that way.
Right.
And we did everything. We did more than even those, we gave everything someone would need to prevent an abortion, everything, even paid for the doctor, everything. We didn't just idly say, don't do it. We'll help you and find you a place to live, a job even, whatever we have to do. That's what we did.
So let's go back to jail, because that's cool to me.
Jail.
Yeah.
Jail's not cool. It's boring.
It's like a cool thing. It's like a status these days to be in like a social media jail or an actual physical jail, or to get arrested for something or get a mugshot. It's like a, because when you're doing the right thing, of course, or when you're not doing anything actually wrong, it's actually interesting. But no, the question is, going back to when it first happened, or when you were, maybe the first time you were thrown in jail.
Right.
How did your immediate family react? Like your husband, children, and how old were you?
Oh, well, I think I was probably in my 40s. And my husband, he approved, but he didn't, he couldn't. And my children, well, they rescued too. So, they were teenagers. And so they didn't, my daughter went to jail, but my two of my other children didn't, because they were young.
Okay, so your child actually got arrested with you.
Mm-hmm. 3 of us did, yeah.
That's all. That's such a great. Did they jail you guys? Did they put you guys in the same cell?
Well, they herd everyone in together. Is how they do it,
Yeah. So, but you guys share this cell, right?
Yeah, we're all together. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's nice. You get to spend some time, quality time with your kids.
Yeah,
quality
time. Yeah. No, yeah. It's I don't know. It's not really that bad. The worst of it is when they actually arrest you, because then you don't cooperate, and they put those plastic handcuffs on you, and they can kind of hurt, if they want to be mean.
What about the food? How was the food?
Terrible. Terrible. Just a lot of Kool-Aid for drinks and nothing but starches and nothing nutritious.
Kool-Aid's actually, I like Kool-Aid,
Well,
actually.
it tastes good, but think about it. It's not, there's no nutrition. There's nothing. I felt sorry for them.
It's kind of funny because there's all those memes of the Kool-Aid guy like busting through like the brick cement or cement walls.
Yeah.
It's like just kind of ironic.
Yeah. No, I don't recommend the prison food. At least where I was.
Was there anything in the room to occupy you, like books or anything like that?
No. I mean, they had, I think in one of the rooms there was a TV, but, not where we were. There was really nothing. No. It's just boring, trust me. You don't want to go to jail and be bored.
Yeah, I guess that's the biggest incentive, right? You just don't want to be bored.
No, I would have gladly come out and scrubbed the floor or done anything, but you can't even work. I mean,
yeah, you can't even scrub the floor.
Yeah,
like,
I would rather scrub the floor.
Like I can clean this
I
place.
could do something, but no, you have to stay in this room. Yeah, I mean that's the worst of it. You have no freedom. You
can't even hand out miraculous medals. I imagine.
No. I mean, they take all that away from you.
Wow.
They take everything. Any personal, your ring, your watch, everything.
Yeah, so just for the audience to know, Darden is the local miraculous medal dealer.
Oh no!
Right? Oh, it's true, right? How many miraculous medals do you have on you at any given time when you're outside the church?
Probably. Well, I must have 15 in my purse and 40 in my car, maybe, or depending how many I've given out.
Yeah, and how many are you giving out a week?
I don't know. I give everywhere I go. I give.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Probably. Since I've been giving them out, I don't know. Hundreds. I don't know. 100. I don't know. I don't keep track. I don't miss an opportunity if I can.
Yeah. Tell us about the craziest experience you had, because I imagine when you're outside these abortion clinics, right? I know when I was standing out there, I saw people get the middle finger or get like cursed at constantly.
Yeah.
What is the craziest thing that you ran into when you were outside an abortion clinic in terms of people being aggressive against you and the people trying to save babies?
They didn't ever attack me, I mean, they were always cursing and nasty people, I guess, no, I can't think of anything like that. I know I had to argue with the police to get arrested one time.
You're actually arguing with them, please arrest me, please.
No, well, it was in Washington, D.C., and we're trying to get to the door, and the police, it was kind of like an incline, so you had to get up in there, and the policeman was blocking us, and so I'm just still climbing. He says, "Oh, just go ahead," and he let me through, so I could go sit down and in front and block. But but I never had anything really super crazy that I can remember happen. In Maryland, they brought out horses against us. That was a little bit scary.
Horses.
The police were on horses, and it was kind of scary. They were a little bit rougher there, and yeah. Wow. I mean, just bring some apples, right? Yeah, I mean,
horses would be chill with you. Bring some apples.
Yeah, there were a lot of pro-lifers at that one too.
So, what would be your advice to young, up-and-coming pro-lifers that are looking to save as many babies as possible? What's your advice to them? Man,
today, it's really hard to know. I mean, if there were enough people like these wonderful people that have been going, and they're all arrested now, that rescued all those babies' corpses, do you remember that?
Yeah.
It's really difficult today because of all the FACE Act and all the things that they've done. They just put you in jail for a year, 2 years, whatever, so you'd have to be prepared to just basically give up your life to do that, It's hard to say what do you think?
Well, I'm thinking in terms of tactics. What tactics would you recommend for some of these people that are jumping into the, I mean, this is an industry that's, hasn't really slowed down too much
lately
at all. So, I mean, if you're training a pro-life activist, what are the tactics you're giving them?
I don't know. I honestly, I really don't know, because I don't know what outlet you have. Your young people in the colleges, they're so woke, most of them, you know, trying to get the truth out there. I like the people that go around with the pictures on their, you know, vehicles, and just show them what it is. But people have become so callous, they don't even care. You know, they don't care that this is a baby being torn apart. That's
Right.
what you're up against. How do you? It's a deeper problem. How do you reach this? You know, it's. I honestly, I don't know.
So it sounds like, I mean, from your experience, you have seen, like, maybe being kind to them, but
Yeah.
being very direct and truthful about what it is.
Yes, I would always be kind. You know, you won't reach them if you're not kind. But so many of them are not going to even accept your kindness, you know. And I think that, personally, I think for me anyway, it comes down to just, it's a suffering, really, trying to reach them, and being willing to, you know, look deeper and try to help them, and not get angry and yell back at them the mean things they're saying, but try to present the truth as kindly as you can, you know. But for young people, you know, if they can do anything on their college campuses to help make awareness of, you know, human life, you know, I don't know. It just seems like there's just so much callousness.
So what do you think about a lot of these fair weather Catholics? I call them fair weather Catholics. I mean, there's probably names for them that are a little bit direct. but what do you think about some Catholics who say that, you know, you could be pro-choice and Catholic?
Well, that's a lie. You can't be. I mean, pro-choice, what's pro-choice? What's a choice? Life or death? To let a child live or to kill a child? How can you be for murder and be a Catholic? You can't. You're, you know, I mean, you can be a Catholic, but you're probably committing mortal sin.
So you would not consider Joe Biden a Catholic?
Not at all. I mean, he's Catholic, but poor man, you know, he's and his soul is in great danger. I mean, you know, he's not living as a Catholic, acting like a Catholic.
You have to wonder about some of these people, like Joe Biden and Pelosi. I mean, is Pelosi Catholic?
Yes.
Yeah, she's Catholic.
She's Catholic.
So, like, do you think that they genuinely are Catholic, and they're just kind of like creating this like alternate reality of like justifying it in their head, or that they're just kind of wearing the mask of a Catholic and going through the motions, or what's going on, do you think?
I don't know if they're even really going through the motions. I mean, they are baptized Catholics. They're really fallen away Catholics. They're Catholics that are, unless they really change, they're on the way to hell. You know, it's just the truth. Unless they have a major conversion. And if they go to church, it doesn't mean anything to them at all. You know, it's just probably political, you know, or just maybe it's pride in, oh, yeah, I can, you know, I can go to church, I'm good, you know. Maybe they're trying to deceive themselves, but I don't think they really even care, you know. I think it's just a facade.
Well, like, you'd think that when you're at a stage in your life when you're closer to it being over, that you would be a little bit more fearful of the repercussions of your actions, right? You'd think that if you genuinely believed.
Well, but it's like it says in the Bible, for those who have not loved the truth, they've been given the error to believe lies. And when you're living in the state of sin, your will is weak, and your mind, you're blind. You know, so the devil wants to keep you that way, you know. And lots of people go to hell because, you know, they, even if they're close to death, they still won't, their pride won't let them admit, you know.
Sort of like the idea that if you compromise once, it gets easier to compromise, and then that ends up being basically all you're doing is compromising because you think that's the way things are done.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, that's what I think.
well, okay, so then let's say if you had an opportunity to speak directly with someone like Joe Biden, when he's cognizant enough to speak his mind. Well, actually, let me rephrase it. Let me say it like this: if you had a chance to speak directly with Joe Biden, what would you say to him?
What would I say to him? Well, I mean, under what circumstances? Like, is he going to let me talk to him? Am I
let's say he's somewhat cognizant. He can understand you.
And he'll sit down with me, and I'm going to actually have
he's forced to sit. He's chained to the chair.
Okay, he's going to have
Jill Biden has let him be by himself for longer than 2 minutes.
Okay. And what would I say to him?
Yeah.
Well, it wouldn't be political, for sure. It would be more about, trying to reach his soul, but I don't know that, I would have that ability to do that because, but I don't know. I would just, probably what you said, I would ask him, hey, aren't you afraid to die? You're getting close to your death. Don't you know that hell is real and heaven is real? And don't you believe there's an afterlife and that what do you think's going to happen? Well, and I might tell him the story that my mother told me when her grandmother was dying, and she said her grandmother, who never smiled when she was dying, she just looked up with this big smile on her face. And there was a nun in the room at the time, and she said, well, honey, you look puzzled. And she said, that's because your grandmother saw the Blessed Mother. But you never want to be at the bedside of someone that the devil comes for. It's horrible. And I've read nurses have said the same thing, So I would tell him it's real, and it'll be horrible, And God loves you, and he even no matter what you've done, He still wants you. He died for you if you were the only person in this world. At the last minute, He would save you if you're willing, but you have to ask for it, and you have to be sorry, That's what I would say.